Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Lesson Showcase. Yeah, sorry, I look weird. I have contacts on today. Um, I'm still recovering from my migraine, so hopefully I don't say anything that's out of place today. But I'm glad to have. Sorry, that's why I had to delay today, Ed. I had a migraine. But I'm glad to have my partner here tonight to help me out, Mel. How are you, Mel?
I mean, I'm hoping that I can compensate because I did Melball's mix earlier and I had some limoncello, and despite only sipping on that, you girls got some edge right now. But it has been an incredible week in wrestling. Andre and myself been having so much fun debut or reviewing the Battle in the Valley that happened, which we're going to talk about today. Some of the results from that. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. But my friend, how are you doing this week?
Well, aside from the migraine and working a lot, I'm doing all right. I just figured this is even though we're like a week or so behind after it happened, but I figured you being the New Japan fan and me being a Mercedes fan and you also being a Mercedes fan, um,
Mhm.
I wanted to discuss of like the different aspects of her being champion right now. So I figured we could have different points of view on this. So I think this will be really interesting for us today. So I
Yeah.
figured like you starting, like how was that for you watching it live? I was watching it, but I was half asleep, so I need to rewatch it a little bit later where I can feel like I'm more
Same.
alive. But I did watch it though while it was happening. Just I had one eye open and on my bed. I was like, if I fall asleep, I'm sorry, but it's kind of late for me. But like, how was that for you? Like watching that show and then seeing her win that championship now.
The match itself was exactly what I was expecting out of a Stardom styled match. And Mercedes really did step it up, incorporating a lot of that lucha stuff that she's very obviously been working on and learning the last little while. I have mentioned it in a video before, and it really does go to show you, even though she has been like inactive in the ring for a year, she's clearly been training. She's been doing what she needs to do to ensure that there is no ring rust building up on there, let alone, someone who would, necessarily be considered a professional and maybe doesn't train in those times in between wrestling. So it's really, really incredible to see how well she was able to keep up with Kyrie, because Kyrie was not wrestling. I think you can agree with this. She was not wrestling the way that you guys expect her to wrestle in, for example, a WWE ring. I'd almost compare it to bring up a guy, Ricochet.
Mhm.
Ricochet has that, limitless talent and an ability that he can do. But as someone who has watched him in NJPW before going to WWE, there's what he was performing at, and then there's what
Mhm.
he is currently performing at, which are very different levels. Mercedes, amazing, the match itself, again, absolutely incredible. Again, the lucha tendencies that were coming out in her were absolutely amazing. Um, but if I can if I can be that girl though,
Do
I
it. That's what we're here for.
I'm not at the time that it happened. I
Mhm.
will say I was not happy that Mercedes did win the title when she did. There's a lot of things kind of that I didn't have, like information I didn't have, things that I'd seen beforehand that made me go, nah. It angered me a little bit. But as I've thought about it throughout the week, gotten more information, seeing what she's doing, seeing where she's going, on a grander scale, it makes sense. Marketing wise, branding wise, NGPW and Stardom are trying to get that foothold in the North American audience. And who is more recognizable of Mercedes and Kyrie? Despite her run being a very good one in the WWE, Mercedes is going to be more recognizable than Kyrie in this respect, and she's going to be that better draw for the company. So, even though, as I said at the beginning, I wasn't too happy, I have come to accept it and accept it as um, this is just the beginning for Stardom in North America. Even though, let's be honest, we have to talk about the thing that upset me the most about this, which was Mercedes not knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, highest level champion, which arguably, and I will take this to the grave. I stand by this. I don't consider the IWGP Women's Championship in a higher regard than the World of Stardom's championship.
Mhm.
So you should at the very least know Stardom champion is. And
Mm.
it's not a boy, honey. It's not Julian. Come on. Yeah, I mean, she might smack you
Yeah.
around like a boy would maybe, but yeah, that was something that did kind of bother me going into the match because you had
Mhm.
shown me that interview beforehand. I was like,
Yeah.
girl, yeah. What did you think about the match, Ashley? You did say we were kind of half watching it, but like overall, like the match and the deciding factor, kind of a positive note on that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I feel like the match itself is something that I expected out of both of them because I know Mercedes style is very like quick paced, things like that. So I expected something like that from her. I knew Kyrie had like a similar kind of speed to it. So I know they were able to match up
So
with each
so
other.
long.
If there were two people that could match up with each other, will be the two of them. So I knew in that aspect I was not gonna be disappointed in the match whatsoever. Like you, I
Mhm,
was torn about the result because I kept thinking about it from in two different points of view. I kept
mhm,
thinking, like you said, from the marketing aspect, it does make sense for her to win because they're trying to catapult this company in
mhm,
this division exactly in North America. And one way to do it is like imagine like the headlines have one of the four horsewomen is in New Japan. One of the horsewomen
mhm,
is it's a New Japan champion. It's something
mhm,
you never expect to read it. So I feel like it's one thing to like bring eyes to your product. It does make sense in that aspect. But
mhm,
like you and I were talking before, is like it does tore me and I feel bad for the girls that have been there for long like longer than she has, who've been training for
mhm,
years now to be in this company and not even be involved in the title match whatsoever and have not only that but having Kyrie there it makes sense but having Mercedes win from Kyrie just like that and it just
mhm,
like I was torn about it but I kept thinking but look at the positivity that has brought to my timeline on Twitter after the match
mhm,
had was over and the day after and then
mhm,
seeing all the graphics of people going it's Black History Month. Look at all the women that are black champions in every single company right now. And I was like, this is why they did this. Look at this. Look at the
mhm.
feedback they have gotten. And not only
Yes.
that, but I feel like I've seen more people talk about New Japan and more like the pay per view in itself. Not only that match, but the pay per view that
Mhm.
night than I ever seen anybody in my timeline before. And I said, this is why they do this. This is why, because they bring
Exactly.
giving more eyes to that product that they want to have. And it makes sense because I say, for example, in this aspect, if Mercedes had lost, I feel like they would have been like, oh, shoot, that sucked. Even though it probably didn't suck, but you know, you could have gotten that feedback from them. Um, yeah, as Bobby's saying, Giselle was up there as well. She was watching the match, and Punk was there in the audience as well. I think they were in the media section, so that was interesting to watch. But
Is it though? I mean, they
I
kind
mean,
of that's
Giselle for
what
me,
they do.
Giselle's
They pop up
interesting.
everywhere they're not really
Yeah,
invited, don't they?
for me, Giselle was interesting seeing like a little bit of like the Impact presence there. So that part was
Mhm.
interesting to me. But I kept thinking of like more like I understand why this is happening now because I see so many people talking about everything about the pay-per-view and specifically about the match going from the entrance which you're going to talk about in one moment to her
Mhm.
gear to the match itself to like
Mhm.
the sign of respect from her carrying herself at the end and even the end with you know Okada and her having that moment after I think it was when the pay-per-view was over if I'm not mistaken when they both
Yes,
went
yes.
the championship with their belts so little things like that made me realize this is why they did it that they decided to go with this and not
Mhm.
only that but if you think about from this aspect, like you said, people think Mercedes and no Mercedes. So imagine Mercedes versus this person, Mercedes versus this person. No matter what happens, people are going to talk about it because Mercedes is involved. So I feel
Mhm.
like from that aspect, I understood. It's just like I kept thinking about it from this aspect. It's like if somebody comes in from to WWE out of nowhere and gets a title match and just wins, and I'll be like, really? Why? There were so many other girls I could have been lined up in there for that opportunity.
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
was the other, and then that I kept thinking, I was like, shoot, they could have
And
been
who's
somebody else
someone that
in
we
there.
can really compare that to in the WWE? I mean, my favorite, one of my personal
Mhm,
favorites, but this is a person that I, despite loving, I
mhm,
hate that they do this. And I definitely felt that it
yeah,
was kind of the situation, and that's Charlotte Flair. She's shoved down everyone's throats, and I totally get.
mhm,
I mean, it's like a John Cena thing or a Roman Reigns thing. We hate having things shoved down our throats. Um, at the same time, like as you were
mhm,
saying, it's I don't like it when anybody, I don't care who you are, I don't care what name you've gotten or what you've built, unless you are like an MJF level heel, there's no reason for you to come into a company and win a title on your first night. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
like for me, that really did kind of ick me, and why my hackles immediately kind of went, I don't like it. But again, as you mentioned, it is a very, very smart marketing kind of thing for them to do. And let's be honest, like, she's fluent in English. We don't, and here in North America, we don't like having to have that translation or like not know what's going on in front of us. Mercedes, very fluent in English. So she's not going to have a problem communicating what it is that she wants to kind of do within women's professional wrestling here. That being said, though, the thing she did with Okada afterwards actually left me a little confused, and that kind of goes into that language thing.
Yeah.
Okada did his absolute best to try to like talk to the audience and stuff, but I did find myself confused as to what it is that they were alluding to. It's like, okay, the moneymaker and the rainmaker, it does make sense as a pairing, but what are you pairing for? And when and where? Like, this would have been a perfect
Yeah,
opportunity.
maybe that Forbidden Door pay per view will get soon enough, maybe in June.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it would be a really,
Maybe.
really great way for them to set up for either a Forbidden Door show or another historic crossover show
Hmm.
where we could see both Stardom and NJPW having, their own matches as well as intergender matches, which I would totally be for. But like, tell me, a girl be stupid. Like, spell it out for me. But that being said, we should actually get back into what Bobby had mentioned earlier. Was Mercedes does have a couple challengers already
Hmm.
for her IWGP Women's Championship. That being Azumi officially laying down her challenge there, and like, I did a little bit of research. I knew Azumi had been a force to be reckoned with in Stardom for at least the last 5 years, but like, it's been longer than that. Sending you a picture of her today. I mean, she's a 20-year-old prodigy, this woman. So super quick. When I looked up, she's only had the high speed championship twice. I love this outfit. Just
Yeah, me
love.
too.
And you can see that high speed championship nestled around her waist very snugly. It's where it belongs
Mhm.
there. She's only had the high speed championship twice, but both her title reigns have been almost 600 days long. Her
Wow.
current championship title run is over a year. This woman has defended, in this run, successfully defended that championship 9 times, retaining over various people within Stardom, like Thekla, Starlight Kid, who's another one that Monet wants to face there. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Do I think that Monet may have bitten off a little bit more than she can chew with Azumi? I mean, Azumi's been wrestling since she was 11. Her
Yeah,
first official match with Stardom was when she was 11. Look at this
that's crazy.
child. She was a child, literal child.
Wow.
But man, she was good back then, and she has gotten nothing but better now.
Hmm.
I actually, she's also a former Artist of Stardom champion, which is their trios champions with someone you will recognize in Hazuki and Io Shirai.
Hmm.
And then also she had another run with another girl who we'll talk about, Momo Watanabe, and my personal favorite, Utami Hayashi Shida. She's also had the Goddess of Stardom Championship, which is the tag team title with Momo Watanabe. Azumi is an established wrestler in Stardom and arguably one of their top girls in the company. I think this is going to be an incredible match. I think that she's going to push Monet to her limits with that speed, because we saw with Kyrie, she can slug it out with Kyrie.
Yeah.
The question is, can she keep up with that speed? What do you think about this, Astrid?
I think it just intrigues me more and more because it's one of those things like you've seen her wrestle, even though she has a like almost Japanese and like lucha style to it. But it's just nice to probably have people that are gonna help her grow in that aspect and have her show it off more often, which I want to see. Because as we know, as you know, why it comes to WWE, WWE does have its limits to it. They only allow you to do certain things, and it's like so. It's interesting seeing her like have that freedom, if you want to call it like that. That they can do whatever they want. They're probably not being told you can't do this, this, and that. Just go for it. You have 25 minutes. Just go out there and kill it. And you know that gives them that creative freedom that you never know what you're gonna get from this. So that's why I'm more like intrigued than anything because I just want to see her grow and do other things of what she hasn't done before, we haven't seen her do, and just
Mhm.
impress people in that aspect, and just seeing that feedback later, as we're gonna see probably on social media, we will talk about their matches, another thing. And I feel like not
Mhm.
only from that aspect, but if, for example, for me and the people also that don't watch New Japan or Stardom, seeing her wrestle against all these people are gonna be like, I need to check her out if I like this person wrestling
Mhm.
against her now. Whenever she has various challenges. That's why I say whoever.
Yeah.
Um, but thinking of that aspect is like, I like you. I'm gonna keep checking you out and just keep going from there. So I think it's something that's positive when you think about it from that aspect. And another thing that I wanted to point out too, her gear, like her gear was amazing. I love
Mhm.
how she looked. I think I have the picture here if I'm not mistaken. I
The
think
Hannah Kimura memorial kind of shout out there.
yeah, that
Um,
was so nicely done.
yes, yes, that was stunningly beautiful. And what I actually really, really enjoyed even further about the gear is that as she kind of went through the match and did have to start kind of almost shedding the gear, as it were,
Yeah.
just based on what she's doing and all that stuff. She did eventually get rid of the corset and the little furry boots and stuff. What I loved is that it was still a shout out, but it was still uniquely Mercedes. Like
Yeah.
it was still her styling of gear that
Mhm.
she would usually wear, but it was an appropriate kind of showing for her. Really, really enjoyed the cave. I love the corset, though I knew it was going to fall off. Just because the
Mhm.
girls, like in Stardom, they just go too quickly. Having something like
Mhm.
that restrictive on your
Yeah.
core and on your rib cage there, I mean, you need all the breath you can get to try to keep up with someone like Kyrie or even Azumi. So, yeah, it's going to
Mhm.
be interesting to see what she goes into further with her outfits and stuff like that. I really appreciated
Yeah.
that. I mean, if that's
Yeah.
all
It
right,
took me a
a
moment
high
to
tier.
Yeah, it took me a moment to realize that when she came out, I was like, I feel like she looks familiar, but I knew I had seen pictures of Hannah before. So I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like she looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. And then seeing a picture like this, I was like, this is beautiful because I didn't know how close it was to Hannah's entrance. And they say it went from the dancers all the way to her gear. Like the only thing that was like her is the Monet part of it. And it made me
Mhm.
think back. I was like, I feel like she did something for Hannah before too, and it made me think back of like somebody pointed out in 2020 during one of those pandemic shows that we had in the
Yeah, that
Thunderdome
was
here in
fun.
Orlando. She did have the band for Hannah when everything happened. So I think that was
Mm,
super like a super great way to honor her through this match as well. I feel like a lot of people were talking, not like I said, from the entrance and the gear all the way to the match itself. So it's nice to have her getting feedback from everything. I did want to
mhm,
point out that a photo credit is for the user on Twitter is D_toplot, if I'm not mistaken. The person's the one that posted the side by side pictures, so that's why I
ah,
wanted to give
yes.
credit to them. But seeing that, it just come on, this looks stunning from the mask to like the
Mhm,
cape, the corset, everything. Like the only thing, like I said, that's really hers is the Monet part of it, but everything
mhm,
else is Hannah to a T. So seeing that and the way to pay respect to somebody that she enjoyed watching and she loved so much, I think that was very touching and
mhm,
beautiful. Um, Not only that, I think I sent it to you as well. But another thing I wanted to point out was the video that she made look like that little like diary on her road to the
ah,
show
yes, yes,
itself,
yes.
and little details that she said, look, Triple H sent me a text message, William Regal sent me a text message, and she's like, well, I have Trinity coming to see me, and then I have Bailey's coming right after a Raw flying to come see me, and that was only for when she was there for Wrestle Kingdom coming out. But
Mhm,
she cried seeing like the support that she was getting from so many people, and little pieces of like her like going back to FTR and hugging them after everything that happened,
mhm,
and seeing Kenny, and Kenny's like, yeah, well, we'll do things in the future. So his Twitter made me like think of what Bobby was saying here, maybe a mixed tag match between Mercedes and Okada versus Kenny and Riho. So I think that would have been an interesting one to see later on. um
I
I
don't
feel
mind
like
the
it could be
idea of it, but
coincidence.
maybe switch out Riho with someone who's in Stardom.
Yeah, I mean it could be for Forbidden Door. That's why I'm like thinking about that aspect of it, because it could be that New
Actually,
Japan
Sheeta would
AEW too.
probably be a better choice in that one.
Oh, I
Omega
love Sheeta.
Sheeta. Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
But yeah, it
What?
just made me think about that like little aspect of like this maze tag there. But it was so nice seeing that little diary and have her be so excited, and it made me think back because like I found this clip from her Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold, and even she said she's like, my dream has always been to go to Japan, but WWE called me first. So it wasn't something that came out of nowhere for her either. There's something that she has wanted to do even before WWE, but she got the call to try out for WWE before New Japan even happened. So it's nice to see that she went from one dream that came first, and when she felt like that dream ended, she went back and she decided to pursue the other dream that she had as well, and she didn't let it go to the back burner either, and she decided to pursue it. So that was such a nice detail to it. I love watching that video diary of hers going through this and putting the gear together and making her entrance. I feel like it was amazing to watch it. I just want to say congratulations to both ladies because it wasn't just Mercedes winning, but I feel it's a victory for Kyrie as well because the match was incredible, and I definitely want to rewatch it too.
Yes, yes, they both did incredibly well on that one. From here to Austria, do we want to talk about maybe some of the girls that could
Yeah,
face Monet going into Stardom? Like I had 10. I had to whittle down that list to the top 5 that I think would give, first of all, Monet the best pop for her career
yeah,
in Stardom, but also would be a great segue for the women to start coming over to the U.S. The
yeah.
first one being one of my personal favorite and my other recording partner, Andre Como's personal favorite on there, the Venus Club Venus, Mina Shirakawa. And you had actually sent me a few tweets that we had noticed that she'd been sending to Mercedes.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
sassy on that
It's
one.
getting spicy in there.
Yeah, she is. But you know what? Venus has been she's been working hard for a hot minute in the company and has definitely felt like she maybe has gotten the short end of the stick a little bit on a number of occasions. Most recently being her face essentially getting shattered by Saya Kamitani, the Wonder of Stardom champion, when she attempted the Phoenix Splash, which is the same thing that Kota Ibushi did when he sky sparkled his face and put him out himself out for a year.
Mhm.
I think Mina is ready, and like her English has actually gotten really, really good. I think she would be a really great segue for the Japanese women to start coming over, just because of that language that would really help her. But of course, she's also freaking gorgeous. She's a bikini model on top of that, and then to have someone like Mariah May and Zaya Brookside in her corner to kind of back up not only the prettiness but also, you know, those girls are savage. Like Mariah May might look like a Barbie doll. She ain't nobody to mess with. That Barbie doll will smack the smack off your face. But Zaya Brookside, the skill and technicality
Mhm.
that she has between those two being in Mina's corner, Monet better look out if she ever gets into the ring with Mina Shirakawa. The next one I think goes
Mhm.
without saying. I've been talking about this girl for like a hot minute now.
Mhm.
This is a girl who would probably like sit there and like just feed forearms to anybody and smile and cackle maybe while doing that. And that is my favorite, Suzu Suzuki, one half of the Artists of Stardom champions right now. Just challenged Julia for the World of Stardom Championship. Had an incredible, absolutely incredible banger of a match. And like I said, the whole time she is just wrecking Julia's day, throwing her around, putting her in all these crazy moves, and just doing it with this twisted, evil little smile on her face. I absolutely love it. Another 20-year-old prodigy in her sport. I mentioned before, she's a death match specialist at 20. You can't. This girl, I mean, it would be a lot of fun to see what it is that Monet could pull out of Suzu, because Suzu herself, very creative, very fun and unique person in the ring. I feel these two would have a lot of fun working together.
Mhm.
The next one, my personal favorite, my I can't even rate this woman high enough in my level of anything. Utami Hayashi Shida, the Red Queen of Queen's Quest. This woman is one of those people, you know, those people who just have that innate ability to just elevate not only themselves but their opponent throughout the
Mhm.
match. that is Utami Hayashishita. Just a powerhouse of a woman. But I feel that she would actually work very, very well with that lucha style of Monet. And Utami is also very, very, she's got a lot of range. So she can do the kind of goofiness, she can do the very, very seriousness, and she has no problem flying wildly back and forth between the two. So I feel that they would work very, very well together. Tell me, I feel is also starting to get a little bit more popular over here. I'm seeing a little bit more of her kind of on the scene. So I feel like this could actually be a really great elevation for not only Monet but also for Utami.
Mhm.
Okay, we're getting down to the final two. One of the last two. This woman is one who you actually were saying that you really, really like the look of her. She
Yeah.
just joined a new faction in the last year, abandoning Queen's Quest for the evil faction Oedo Tai, and that is the beautifully talented Momo Watanabe. She has these kicks that I have started to start calling the Soul Snatchers because she kicks you so hard in the chest that I'm fairly certain your soul exits your body through the back of your head. I've watched her kick girls inside out with those kicks. Her strikes are off the chain. Her finisher is a Meteora. She is absolutely incredible. And she looks a little smaller in comparison to some of the women there, but like don't let that size fool you. She will rock your socks off. I believe she's got a judo background, which a lot of these women tend to have. You're going to see a lot of judo tosses, a lot of karate kicks, a lot of karate chops, especially out of God's Eye. But yeah, this girl right here, this would be a great battle of good and evil between Monet and Momo Watanabe. The last one. Is actually one that I haven't seen a ton of in singles matches since her return. She suffered a torn ACL against Utami Hayashishita about a year and a half ago, and since coming back has just been on an absolute tirade. Just she's literally like a blindfolded child at a party with the pinata stick. She's just running around hitting everybody, and that is amazing. Natsuko Tora. This woman is a raw power, and like. Don't let that face fool you. She will mess up your day.
I was like,
This
she
is
looks
something you don't want to see in
intimidating.
that galley. But the confidence and the swagger that this woman has when she enters the building, like you cannot help but just be like in awe of her. Very, very powerful woman, very, very also very creative, very unique, and comes up with a lot of very interesting and fun moves to do in the ring that just show off her absolute power. And she's another one who elevates her opponents as much as herself in her matches. I feel like that's a very extremely good and valuable quality for people to have. That's a little hard to come by sometimes, just because people want to, get their stuff in sometimes. But yeah, Tora, she's the head of that evil kind of syndicate that Momo Watanabe is a part of. I would say like the head symbiote, the Venom, the Carnage, or whoever's the highest level symbiote in that thing. Because like I almost look at Oedo Tai as being like an evil organization that kind of almost sucks people in and changes them. At least that's what I get from the story. But yeah, for the Stardom girls, I feel like those are the top kind of five who would be a really great kind of test for Monet in the front. Obviously, Mayuri Watani, Micah, someone like Thekla, even Lady C would be great, great tests for her moving forward. But I feel to really establish her dominance, those are five ones that she definitely needs to pick up in Stardom to kind of again not only establish her dominance, but to help bring in these women from Japan to introduce them to North America.
Yeah. I have Bobby here with a few of his personal choices. They're not necessarily from New Japan or Stardom. Based on first Mariah. I feel like Mariah, I think that would be an interesting one. I hope I don't do this one. Tam Nakano.
Tam Nakano, yeah. Tam
Yeah,
Nakano
close enough.
is actually was the first challenger for Kyrie After she won the IWGP Women's Championship, she challenged at Wrestle Kingdom. Um, she is a fighting pixie, that one. It would be interesting to see those two kind of go at it, because Tom Nakano is kind of that over the top fairy tee hee kind of girl. And I feel like that personality would mix very well with Monet. Good choice.
And then next one, Millie McKenzie. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting one as well. And this is one of my favorites, so I have to go with her. Molly, definitely. I love Molly.
Oh, yes, I
Uh,
know.
Watching her in NXT UK, I do miss watching her on my weekly basis now. But
Mm.
yeah, and Steph Delander. I feel like Steph would need a little bit more experience before heading up with somebody like Mercedes, because I know like she was starting in NXT. I did watch her last month in Impact, and she's still like, now I don't want to say green, but she's still like learning her ropes. So it will take a little bit more time for her to go
Mm.
against Mercedes.
Okay.
Kylie King, I think, is definitely a good choice when it comes to like
Oh,
indie
yeah.
wrestling. Yeah, that one I feel like she would get highlighted very well with Mercedes.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's another one in there that I would love to see her maybe face is Karma. And that one's so she's actually a small little Asian girl from Diana, Pro Wrestling Diana, who moonlights in Stardom as a character named Haruka Umasaki, who's also a part of the evil syndicate of Oedo Tai. So
Yes.
you know, hey, good versus evil, we have to have it. Got to get it done.
Yeah. I also wanted to, aside from Mercedes and everything that happened, I also wanted to highlight something that happened a few days ago. Let me see if
Mhm.
I get exactly when it happened. Well, 3 days ago, so it's not, yeah, it's not that old. Let's put it like that. Um, Billy
Pretty recent.
Starks. Billy has a special place in my heart. I will love that one. Talking about Nikki Bella being on Renee Paquette's The Sessions
Oh, yes,
podcast,
yes.
talking about Total Divas and things like that. And I feel her comments were really interesting. Thinking about
Mm.
like the way people view them differently, being reality stars in WWE.
Mhm.
There was parts that she said they push who they want the crowd to be behind. Perception is reality. That is WWE to a T. Even though the fans think they own it, no, they laugh in the back. No, we own you at the end of the day. And it's little things like that that she was talking about, of like the, and I want to give credit to Wrestling News, because they posted the quote that she was talking about, um, like the way they were like limited to like a certain aspect.
Mhm.
And I like how she even brought up the aspect of like AJ talking about them later on, and like what she said about them being reality stars. She went a way that I feel like, I don't want to say that she regrets it, but she wish she could have been a little bit differently from what had happened.
Mhm.
And I think I agree with her, and I agree with her on this point. She said, honestly, Total Diva should have been praised more. I felt because what we were doing was reality. We were at the point of almost beating the Kardashians in the ratings. We were shaking the world. And she's like, it was very shocking to me because they were making changes to women's wrestling. And I feel like in that aspect, Total Divas doesn't get enough credit for bringing a lot of fans, female fans, to watching wrestling at that time, especially. And I know I'm not necessarily a fan of the Bellas, but I respect what they have done for the business and the work they have done to promote WWE in such a different ways. And I feel like to be at the end, not even praised or even coming in, for example, like I did for Raw 30, is one of those years. But yeah, just it was interesting seeing her quotes of what happened there, and
Mhm.
what was like backstage when they kind of give us that aspect of like that he's like manipulating us when it comes to the fans, and
Mhm.
who we see on TV as well. But yeah, did you have any thoughts on that aspect of it? And I know I sent you a couple articles about her quote there too.
I mean, it's not gonna be hard to beat the Kardashians in ratings because like they just show up, right? But like, to am I a fan of the Bellas? Not really. Not their wrestling. Not their wrestling. Everything else I was actually pretty okay with, and they did bring a lot of attention to wrestling in general with the Total Divas, with the Total Bellas. Um, am I surprised that they felt that the WWE definitely felt they had ownership over them? No, that to me, I
Mm.
feel like the fandom has been kind of like joking about it. like sort of like the whole situation with Vince. We've been joking about it for like the better part of like 1 or 2 decades, and then the reality comes out and we're just shocked by it. It's like, what were we just joking about for the last 10 years, guys? You
Yeah.
know, it does remind me almost a little bit, like it takes me to the Nightmare Before Christmas. The doctor says the exact same thing to Sally. I own you. I made you. So it's I'm not surprised that they felt that way. Um, I'm happy though that she's finally saying something about it, because it solidifies a lot of the things that we already thought were going on. But we also got to remember the time that they were there. They were there when everything was Vincy, and it stunk like Vince, and it's like old man and dementia, like it. I'm not surprised that they felt almost indebted to this company, because that was the same thing Monet was going through when she was there at the tail end there. And again, Vince, why you gotta ruin everything? You were good
Yeah.
until a certain point of time, and then you just, we don't know what happened. You shot off into left field and you didn't come back. Um, but yeah, I agree with Nikki. Like she should have been given a lot more attention for what it was that she was doing, and the success that they were having, and that should have been focused on and actually, built up, because it could probably still be around
Yeah.
today. The Total D, because Total Bellas, like the her Nikki Says I Do show is on now, right?
Yeah, that's like a little special of like maybe 5, 6 episodes. So kind of giving you that process of her planning the wedding. But Total Bellas just like literally stopped, and Total Divas just like stopped a little bit before the pandemic started. I think like it maybe would have been a little bit harder to film everybody, being that they had to be in their houses and
That's
with
fair.
COVID. And not only that, but they weren't
Would it be
traveling as
harder or
much.
would it be easier?
I mean, it's just the aspect of like there's a lot of people like involved in there too. Oh,
Yeah,
Troy.
but they could have worn face masks. Obviously, it would have been easier for them to film
Yeah.
inside their houses than it would have been out and about in public. But the public places, and like when everyone gets
Yeah.
together, is when the drama happens, and drama equals ratings, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could see them that they were like going out a little bit less. You could see them either going like they were in the arena or they were in their houses. So I feel like maybe that it could have been a little bit more challenging that they didn't have
Yeah,
anything like in public to do. And
that's true.
thank you, Troy. He says I missed Solo Divas. It was so fun. I did love watching it. It was like a guilty pleasure, I would say. I also wanted to point out like the way she was talking about AJ. I know AJ spoke about it in her book. I think she has regretted a lot because there could have been a time where we could have had empowered women and even more and created more change.
Mhm.
That was still a fight, and that locker room was really difficult. A lot of women could speak about that. I think that was a time when I was so many women with their heads down, and I was like, I'm gonna fight real hard for this. And it's just interesting to see like how hard they were fighting backstage for the opportunities that we're getting. And even then you saw like they got somebody. It wasn't entirely like what we wanted them to get. We wanted more from them. But I feel like even recently between this and I know that Nikki and Brie went on a show recently to talk about and Raw 30 and the like woman representation too. So I think it's very interesting the timing like now that they're both speaking up. And I don't want to say against WWE, but speaking up about their experiences being in WWE before, and Total Divas not getting that credit for bringing in that female, like that female presence to the fans in WWE because I feel like you either came around the time I came in the early 2000s or you came around because Total Divas and Total Bellas got you
Yeah.
hooked on because I know a lot of people were fans of the show and the reason why they were watching it. So it just I feel like the show doesn't get that credit for bringing those women as female fans to the show. I feel like it's one of those things I definitely do not get enough credit for.
Hmm. And it actually was a nice time for me to get more exposure to Natalia, because at that time, Natalia was my favorite active female. And for me, she wasn't getting enough time in ring or on, you know, television in general before Total Divas. And even though, I'm not going to lie, I felt like as a Canadian, I was like, you're making my girl look like a drunken idiot.
I feel
um,
bad for her storylines though, because she gets storylines of like she has so many like love interests, and then she was farting backstage, and I'm just like, I'm not particularly a fan of Natty. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like they could do so much more with her and what she's done. I was like, I don't want to see her farting backstage. Like,
Like,
Why?
come
You just made me
on.
feel so bad for her. It's like
Yeah.
her feud with Nikki was one of my favorites, like of her. It's like probably like my top favorite because I feel like I finally saw something like come out of her that I didn't get to see before. And like
Mhm.
her with like teaming up with Tamina, for example, was one of my favorites. She's one of those that she always gets like random partners and then they break up, they don't explain why, and then she has another random partner a couple months later and just like, oh yeah, yeah, Natty.
Yeah,
I
but
feel bad.
arguably next to Rhea Ripley, some of the best gear that's continuously come out of the WWE, those bodysuits that Natty has been debuting,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna complain about those. She looks great, especially the one at the Chamber. Let's talk
Oh,
about Elimination Chamber.
yeah.
Holy hot diggity. I mean,
I mean, I'm very happy that you were watching WPP, well, PLE if you want to call it.
yeah, what is with the WWE and like names and words? Like they try to change everything and ban certain things,
Well,
and it's
they
just
have to
like,
be in power. That's why the name is different.
Vince, go sit in the freaking corner and shut the frack up. Stop ruining everything with your dementia. Frick.
But how was
Oh.
that for you watching that PLE as you were watching it live? I had to stop myself from saying pay per view still. Um, but how was that like watching? Because it's something that I didn't realize at first, but the women's chamber was the only women's match in the whole card. But it was so good, I didn't even realize it.
Right?
I
Like,
didn't think about it.
it was insane how good it was. And wasn't it the first match?
Yeah, the opener, and that was it. All we
Like,
got for women's.
yeah. And I remember actually turning to, like, because I was viewing it with a couple of my friends, and I turned to them, I'm like, so how are they going to top this for the rest of the show? Why did they open with the best thing? And it really did get a little chaotic
Yeah.
as we continued through the show. But man, these girls did so much better than the guys in this respect, in that, the girls coming in and taunting each one in the cubes and then having their moment, and it was amazing. I mean, to see Raquel looked so great. Seeing Liv come out, just like bippity, 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 it was so cute. There's a girl in Stardom who actually does the I think it's that second rope flatliner that Liv
Mhm.
does. Love seeing that move. It's actually surprisingly a little bit harder, I think, for people to kind of pull off. So to see someone like Liv and the other girl, her name is Wakasukiyama, pull it off is just amazing. Uh, the star of the show, though, Rhea Ripley's butt. Like, come on. Um, that thing was out there, and just, yeah. But that was not in that elimination chamber, right? That was in that intergender match that happened later.
Yeah.
Going back to the elimination chamber match. Trying to remember everything that kind of happened because I didn't take any notes. I didn't want to be rude.
Yeah, I was
But
trying to take notes and I kind of stopped as I was watching it, but little
I know
pieces
there
of
was
like,
heads going through the chains.
yes,
Like,
there was a lot of that. Yes, there
and
was a few spots of that. Yeah.
I remember being the only underwhelming part for me was anything Carmella was doing. I
No,
yeah, it just I did not like the outfit. The outfit really, ugh.
I don't like the
And
green, but I could tell this is just like a kind of like a tribute to like Lita, the way it looks like to me. I haven't seen her point it out though, but it kind of looks that way to me.
it
But
does. It looks like it had a fake
I
song. Yeah.
Yeah, the part I enjoy more than anything with Carmela is just her being the ultimate heel. It's like
Oh
I don't
yeah.
want to get out of my pod until I want to
And
get
then
out of
shut
my
the
pod
door.
when it's convenient for me. And like
Yeah.
taunting Oscar until Oscar came, I was like, nope, not having it. Um, and I forgot what move it was. I know it was Raquel going through the pod. I don't know. I think it was with Nikki Cross. And it was somebody smaller than her, like
Yeah,
smaller
it was
ish.
Nikki. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that part was amazing to watch. I think they got through Carmela's part and Carmela was like screaming when that happened. So I think like that moment was amazing to watch. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like Liv had a great performance. And
Mhm.
I loved also having Oscar and Carmela teaming up against Raquel, having that double pin. I was like, beautiful ladies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I knew from the beginning, I was like, the way this is going, I don't see Oscar losing this, especially with the way her character changed. But
Mm.
even with how predictable that was, the match itself still was great. It wasn't one of those like, I know us is winning. Forget about the rest of it. Like it
I
was not
actually
at all
liked
for me
it.
that way. I
I
loved her from
questioned it. I
beginning
thought
to
Kamala was
end.
going to take it.
Yeah, I did too. Like the way she was acting very heelish, I keep thinking of like there's certain matches like the Rumble and like matches that they come under when you see the person like more in the corner and like resting and taking their time, kind of like Edge styles most of the time. It makes me think of like this one's winning it. So it made me think for a moment that Carmella was winning it.
Edge or
But
Theory.
oh yeah. Yeah, Theory did that. He wasn't part of
He's
the
a
big
little bit of
spots
a
in the
little bitch,
chamber.
that one.
Yeah. So I feel like they did incredible with it. I was not disappointed at all about the match, and then having Beth and Rhea in the mixed tag. I feel like we don't often get mixed tag matches in WWE, so that was beautiful to watch as well. Um, I think even though what there was a part where then Beth, I don't know whose fault it was. Don't get me wrong on that. There was a part that Beth was supposed to break up a pin, and the pin got broken up before she got there. But other than that, I feel like the match was really well done. Her and Rhea had, were incredible to watch together. I was
Mhm.
hoping we could get more, but we know where Rhea's coming up against Charlotte, especially tonight on SmackDown,
Mhm.
and kind of build off for the WrestleMania match. But being like the official, like the only women's match on the card, I feel like the Chamber did not disappoint me at all. I definitely wanted to like go back and rewatch it, and just like those moments, like you said, of when they taunt each other and in front, there's somehow I like those little moments. And I
Mhm.
feel like Liv doing the like I forgot if it was a crossbody. Oh no, it was a sunset flip that she did to Raquel from the post. She jumped
Oh
from the
yeah.
quad to Raquel. I was like, Liv, you showing off like usually do. It was beautiful. But I definitely didn't have any complaints about it. I wish the match could have been longer, but it's still like the match itself was great. So I'm
Mhm.
not disappointed at all by it. And so like I like that you and I were watching it at the same time, but obviously different places. But to
Yeah.
like messaging each other, it's like, did you see that? Did you see that? Holy crap! And I love
Yes.
being able to do that with you. So that was always fun to do, or as we were watching both chamber at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, we also got to shout out whatever face paint that Asuka is using. She clearly brought over from Japan because there's another clown in Stardom who's actually a part of the evil syndicate again. She's an evil clown. Her name is Fukiken Death. Sometimes she becomes a good clown and is Billiken Death, but regardless, she's still Death. um, she also has makeup that does not smudge or move, regardless of what it is she is doing or how much she is sweating. And all I gotta say is, someone tell Sting what brand of makeup that is so that
Ew.
he can get his hands on it and stop looking like freaking pizza face at the end of his matches. But Asuka was definitely more, I think, Kana than
Yeah.
anything. She was defiant. She was power. That spinning backhand she does is just absolutely brutal. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that I see a lot in Stardom and in JPW, mostly by Kenta. But in Stardom, Mina Shirakawa is doing it, and also Lady C is also starting to pull out those spinning back hooks. Absolutely brutal when you know how to land them properly.
Yeah.
But man, um, yeah. Also, want to shout out Raquel in that one. You mentioned she broke the door on the one chamber
On the
thing.
pod, yeah.
He
Mm-hmm.
was spearing um, Nikki Cross through it. Just gonna point out, Bobby Lashley tried the exact same thing later in his thing, and he couldn't do it. Just putting it out there. So, yeah. All those muscles are glamour muscles on Mr. Lashley there. They're clearly not functional for some
Glamour
reason.
muscle.
They're
Can
glamour
I say
muscles.
what I gotta point out? One thing I love about my tag partner Mel, she comes up with the funniest names, and we use that as we
I
talk through
try.
the whole week. So just like one of those things, like we come with these names, and they're so funny to hear them in person because like, we always text them to each other all day. Oh my god,
uh,
glamour muscles.
glamour traps. He has no neck. That's why he needs Dr. Bo Hightower to hammer his booty. That's actually a medical thing. He gets hammered in the booty. Chisel and hammer in the booty. Apparently, it's good for your hips. We're not going to question it.
I don't even know how to answer that.
Medical terminology. Hammer in the booty.
Ay,
Oh,
ay,
I
ay.
love it. I don't think that's actually what it's called, but that's just what I call it.
Yeah, that's what it says. One of the names that you come up with for things that I can never forget afterwards. But there you go. But
Lammermost
yeah,
is
I
a
figured this
Lammermost.
was all we had for this week. Unless you
Mm.
wanted to add anything else before we go on, I figured I could rate
No,
somebody here that I could find. So, but
no, I've
since you
got
don't have
nothing
anything
else to
else,
add. No.
well, where can the people find you?
You can find a Melball on Twitter at Collins Melball. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, and Mastodon at Melball Collins. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk, as well as our Facebook fan page, Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk. We post usually every day, actually.
I was gonna say at
There's
least
usually
every day at
something
this
coming
point.
up. Yeah, we usually have our full features drop on Monday and Wednesday, but then we'll be releasing the 10 to 15-minute clips of those guys because an hour is a long time to listen to a Melball talk. Completely understand that. But yeah, that's all the places that you can find this Melball. Where can we find the beautiful natural?
You can find me on my Twitter, which is like my name, Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. You can find me doing Taking Over with Ed on Tuesdays and doing Making an Impact with Cody on Thursdays. And 2 weeks back, well, hopefully, well, I gotta double check my calendar before if I'm not on my trip by the time I come back. We'll see about that. We'll
Oh,
probably have to record the next Ladies Western Showcase because I'll be going on my
mhm.
trip. I'll be taking some time off for the first time in a while, so that will be interesting. But yeah, taking some time off for my birthday, so I will be off from every one of my shows for one whole week. That feels like a long time for me.
Leaving us
um,
on a jet plane.
well, and then my weekends you can find my NXT review women's wrestling talk. I decided I wanted to rate Tom Collar here because he was one of those that rated us not
How
too long ago when we
charming.
first started. So I wanted to repay back the favor to Tom and to Ed because I know they're great at supporting us and what we do. So might as well, you know, give the favor back to them because I like doing that to
Mhm.
my people. So let's see if I can find it right here. Okay. So yeah, I just want to say thank you everybody for stopping by. I know we had Ed earlier and Troy and even Bobby for sticking by. We appreciate you. As you all know, you'll have the replay on Backbreaker Media later on, and then Sunday you'll get the audio version on your podcast platform. So if you haven't checked it out live, you'll get it on your podcast platform then. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for your support. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.